Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today because I've got some warnings coming out from Estonia. Estonia's Foreign Intelligence Service is warning that there's a military threat from Russia to countries that are along the eastern flank of NATO. So that being like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Finland. Okay, there's reports coming out that supposedly Russia is planning on doubling their troop numbers over the next decade on the borders of these countries. Okay, so again, that's Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Finland. These are all countries that border Russia, and these are also NATO members. Okay, so why are they planning on beefing up their numbers? Well, Estonia's got information that they believe is intelligence proving that in the next decade, Russia may decide to attack one of these nations. And again, these are all NATO members, okay? So basically attacking NATO. So I've got an article here pulled up that we're going to be talking about. Okay, Russia preparing for military confrontation with the West, says Estonia. Russia's preparing for military confrontation with the West within the next decade and could be deterred by a counter buildup of armed forces, Estonia's Foreign Intelligence Service said on Tuesday. A growing number of Western officials have warned of a military threat from Russia to countries along the eastern flank of NATO, calling for Europe to get prepared by rearming. Okay, so there has been lots and lots of warnings coming out. I just put out a video from Denmark just earlier today or yesterday, and there's so many people just warning about this, okay? Defense ministers from multiple European countries warning about potential war with NATO. So NATO right now is actively preparing to go to war with Russia. And I think Russia's doing the same thing. They're just kind of doing it more quietly, okay? So the chief of intelligence service said the assessment was based on Russian plans to double the number of forces stationed along its border with NATO members Finland and the Baltic states of Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia. Russia has chosen a path which is a long-term confrontation, and the Kremlin is probably anticipating a possible conflict with NATO within the next decade or so. Capo Rosen told reporters at the release of Estonia's National Security Threats Report. A military attack by Russia is highly unlikely in the short term, he said, partly because Russia has to keep troops in Ukraine and would remain unlikely if Russian buildup of forces was matched in Europe. So that is why right here, this is exactly why Europe is beefing up their forces right now, why they're doing the steadfast defender exercise, why they're putting all these calls out for saying we need to grow our armies, we need to start ramping up production, okay? NATO's chief, Jens Stoltenberg, just said that the other day. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to deter Russia from attacking, okay? But then there's the whole talk about, well, when has Russia said that they plan to attack, okay? Vladimir Putin just came out on the Tucker Carlson interview the other day. If you haven't seen that, he basically said in there, what interest, what reason would we have to attack NATO? Like, what would that do for us? Why would we want to do that? And many people are saying, well, you said you weren't going to go into Ukraine, but then you did. So that's kind of the argument here is like, you'll say that, you're not going to plan to attack a NATO nation, but that's exactly what he did in Ukraine. So I think that's what people are worried about with these NATO countries is that, they could definitely be attacked by Russia at some point just because he did that with Ukraine, right? So if we're not prepared, the likelihood of a Russian military attack would be much higher than without any preparation. So see, that's why they're preparing for deterrence. Estonia and the other Baltic states have increased their military spending to over 2% of the value of their economies after Russia annexed Crimea in 2014, and NATO allies have raised their presence in those countries. Germany plans to have 4,800 combat-ready troops in the region by 2027. In its first permanent foreign deployment since World War II. And Rosen said NATO and its allies were moving in the right direction to counter the Russian threat. I just want to add this here too, that I think what is possible here, that what NATO's worried about, is that if Russia somehow defeats Ukraine, could seem very likely right now, especially if they don't get the help they need from the United States with this aid package, that this could embolden Russia, because he basically, if he defeats Ukraine in Vladimir Putin's eyes, he'll see that as, well, we defeated the West. Because the West has been pouring in weapons and supplies, and many of these weapons that we claimed were so amazing, you know, the HIMARS, you know, Patriot missile systems, all these like really amazing new technology. And if Russia's able to defeat all that, it could definitely embolden them to make them feel like they could take on NATO. Rosen does not expect a Russian breakthrough in Ukraine before its presidential election in March, as it would need to mobilize significantly more troops to achieve that goal. Speaking about U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump's comments that he would not defend allies who don't spend enough on defense, Rosen said, such statements are never helpful. I actually did a video on this just recently. If you want to go hop on my page, you can go find it. Trump was making some warnings towards NATO, stating that he would basically not provide support to a NATO member that's not committing to their 2% defense budget that NATO recommends. Okay, so Russia's ability to provide ammunition to its troops is continuing to outweigh Ukraine's, and unless Western support is sustained or increased, Ukraine is unlikely to be able to change the situation on the battlefield. So here comes another person coming out, another top official of the country, saying that Ukraine is getting ready to fall. That's what it sounds like to me. And I think that's really what NATO is planning for the most. Okay, just back in December, we had Jens Stoltenberg, the chief of NATO, come out and say we need to be prepared to hear bad news from Ukraine. Okay, that came from his mouth. So what is that bad news? Well, that bad news could be that Ukraine is going to lose this war. Okay, and it could be very likely right now, because there's lots of reports coming out that Ukraine is struggling really hard right now, that they don't have enough troops. They barely have ammunition compared to Russia. Russia's got, you know, they're flourishing with ammunition and supplies, and Ukraine is just running really dry right now. And many of their, you know, very effective battalions that they've put together, majority of them have been wiped out. So they don't have as strong of a fighting force as they did just a year ago or 2 years ago. And they're really running low on troops right now. So they're in a very vulnerable position right now to be, you know, taken out by Russia. Okay, and Russia's just about to take over Avdiivka, I think is what it's called, Avdiivka. It's a major town on the eastern side of Ukraine. Okay, so Ukraine is looking really weak right now, and I think that's why NATO is really worried about this, because all these supplies have been given to Ukraine, and it really has not helped them out. It's sustained their fighting, but it has not defeated Russia. So I think that may embolden Russia. Let me know what you think down below. That's going to be it that I have here for this video, but I appreciate you hanging out here with me. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please like the video. And subscribe to the channel if you enjoy my content. Hit the notification bell, that way YouTube can notify you. But with that, I appreciate you being here. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Everybody take care, God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.